What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video, and if you didn't know, The Last of Us Part 2 has dropped. It's one of the more anticipated games in recent years. It's the follow-up to the classic The Last of Us. I mean, when it comes down to a game like this getting dropped in a series like this, you don't really make it better, right? When it comes to the anticipation and the hype. Because The Last of Us is such just a classic game, right? It's considered by a lot to be one of the greatest video games ever made. People genuinely love this series. Even after just one game, I mean, people had been waiting almost a decade for the follow-up here, The Last of Us Part 2. And I mean, for some people, this was like a very major moment because they're such big fans of the series and whatnot. But there has been a lot of displeasure shared about the game to the point that the critic reviews and the user reviews aren't even close. Now, I'm going to give a full disclaimer here. There will probably be some spoilers throughout this video. If you're not interested in that, I recommend you don't watch the video. But at the same time, I have not played The Last of Us 2, and there's a reason behind that. Now, many of you remember a few months ago, there were some leaks surrounding the game, and a lot of the more important moments of the storyline were basically just leaked out and exposed to the community. And I, of course, caught wind of them and saw those. And when I saw the way that the story started to develop through those leaks, I was like, I'm just simply not interested. Because The Last of Us, it holds such a huge, I guess, reputation when it comes to the story, right? I mean, it has, in my opinion, from watching the walkthroughs and playing some of it myself, I don't think I've even fully beat the game, but from what I've seen, the story development and the plot in that game is just so well developed that, of course, yes, it would be kind of hard to one-up it. But at the same time, I don't think that's what everyone really expected. I mean, I feel like if Part 2 came out and it was, you know, at the same level of the original, people would still be really okay with that because just of simply how great the first game was. But there's been a lot of complaints about the second one, and once again, I wasn't even totally interested in it. At least as a day one game, I didn't really want to buy this day one. I have trouble buying games in general day one anymore, simply because, I mean, shit, the first game that I ever pre-ordered and stood in line at a midnight release for was No Man's Sky. Games like Anthem have come out and just completely crushed any hope that I had for like a great first day release. And plus, I'm a Call of Duty fan, so that game comes out every year at the beginning, pretty much just not that great. Let's be honest. A lot of you would say it's not great in general, which is okay, but I've just been stung too many times to buy big releases like this first day, so I usually wait for critic reviews and user reviews. And with this game, there's a clear contrast to that, and there's obviously very fake user reviews being put up, but there's also some very true and legitimate ones that I would believe. For instance, Some Ordinary Gamers, one of my favorite YouTube channels, was playing it on stream, and I tweeted out about how, you know, I hadn't really cared for it and whatnot, and I wasn't really excited for it. He told me he basically was falling asleep on stream while playing it. Everyone that I've talked to who has actually played a significant portion of the game, more than 10 minutes, has told me that they just aren't really feeling it yet. And I know a lot of people like to make it out about the whole, like, gay scene or whatever. If you don't know, there's some LGBT representation in the game, and yeah, a lot of people were going to be pissed about that. Personally, I don't really care. I don't think it's that big of a deal, as long as it's not something that's just shit into the game for the sake of being done, you know? But I don't really know about this game. I don't know if that's the case or not. A lot of people say that it is. A lot of people say that it's pretty respectful and is in the game for a good reason. At the end of the day, I really just don't care. If the game's good, I don't care about that kind of stuff. Now, of course, that was the reason that a lot of people were pissed, because they felt that they were virtue signaling and they felt that it was like a whole SJW branch of the game and everything, and that it was only put in there to appease the snowflakes and everything, right? Which, I mean, if it was, I understand, you know, because that's kind of how 2020 has worked out. A lot of shit is just getting reworked around to appease people. And I mean, it's been happening in video games for a few years now. Battlefield 5 is pretty notable as a game that did that. But, you know, those are the reviews I don't care about. And yes, that is a portion of the review bombing and everything going on with this game, right? People are pissed because of that, which is whatever. The ones that I care about are the people who've actually played the game. Now, of course, the game I don't even think has been out long enough for people to actually have played all the way through it. And I hate that kind of ideology that, like, oh, if you haven't played the entirety of a game, you can't say that you dislike it, because it's just not fucking true. I mean, the core fundamentals of a video game, the game design, the storytelling, visual elements, the monetization in-game, all of these things can be discovered within 30 minutes of playing a game. And of course, you can't say that, like, the entire game sucks, because I mean, the last 3 hours could be the best gameplay you've ever played, but to say that you don't like a game after 3 or 4 hours of playing it is a very valid and reasonable opinion. And what I get really fucking sick and tired of is critics, like professional critics, basically downplaying user reviews after 3 or 4 hours, saying that there's no way that they enjoyed the game because they didn't play it all the way through, when we know for a fact that 90% of the journalists who make these reviews don't play the fucking game all the way through. There's absolutely no way that they do, because a lot of these reviewers, they review 3-4 games a week. You really think that they're putting 90, 100 hours into all of these games total and then putting in the time to publish and write all of these articles, and then that's what they're doing? No, of course not. I would venture to guess that the majority of all of these game reviews that you read from professional outlets are either paid reviews, meaning that the developers gave them money for a good review, or they didn't play more than a few hours of the game, just like the user reviews that they like to try and downplay. Now, this game is critically acclaimed. I mean, critics apparently loved this game. It has like a 95 score on Metacritic out of 100. That's pretty fucking impressive. That puts it among the greatest video games of all time. But then the user review has like a 3.2. Okay, which is like a 32 out of 100, right? So, very clear disconnect between critic and fan consensus. Once again, a lot of these reviews are just review bombs. They're not like the real opinion that people have given from the game. They're just mad about some leaks or a scene that they saw and that they didn't agree with. But there are a lot of reviews out there from people who have played a good portion of the game, played a quarter of the way through, played a fifth of the way through, and they simply just don't like the game. A lot of people are saying that the controls are very fucking, they're unorthodox, they're a little wacky and clunky, which controls are a very significant part of gameplay. A lot of people say that the story development is horrible. As a matter of fact, a lot of people have been saying that the game plays more like an interactive movie and less like a video game, which is very important. When you're playing a game like this, it's important that the story is not dictated to you, but that the story is given to you to explore. When you play a video game like The Last of Us, you're not expecting for the game to be a bunch of cutscenes and a few little missions here and there, which is what a lot of people are saying is kind of the case. It's more of an interactive movie than it is an actual full-fledged game, and that it could have been a movie instead of actually just being a game. It's important in a game like this for the story to be there for you to do, right? You know, you play missions at your own pace. You unravel things at your own pace. Instead of watching cutscenes with the controller down on the ground and your dick in your hand, it's important that you're actually part of what's going on and that your decisions matter. That's why people like games like this. It isn't just the post-apocalyptic scene, right? That's not the only reason that people are into these kinds of games. So it's very important, right? But when you look at these kinds of instances where people are saying that it's less of a video game and more of an interactive movie, or that it could have been a movie, or that they're simply just not enjoying the story development, and they're not enjoying this, and they're not enjoying that, and these are important elements of the game, I don't think that those opinions should be overshadowed simply because there's some guys mad about the LGBT representation, which, by the way, I think is kind of overblown. I think that the people legitimately pissed off about, like, the LGBT community being represented in the characters and stuff like that, I think that it's completely overblown. I think in a lot of situations like this, it's really overblown. I mean, the vast majority of people were not really mad about this, right? Maybe they were like, oh shit, they're virtue signaling. But I don't think most people were mad enough about that to leave a negative review of the game simply because of that. And that's the kind of problem with a game like this. I'm sitting here not necessarily interested in the first day, because I've been burned so many times in the past. I'm waiting for actual reviews and stuff to come out, see what people who I know think about the game after they've played it. That's the kind of thing I want to do for this kind of game release, instead of getting blindsided. But then you have a situation like this where the critics are on a completely different level. Okay, and the people that I know who've played the game are like, the fucking game is not that good. And it's not because there's LGBT characters, right? It's because they just don't like the game. So that's the kind of situation that I find myself in, where I'm trying to teeter in between the critical consensus and the user consensus and trying to wade through those kinds of comments. But it's very obvious that people don't like this game. And that's what confuses me about these critical opinions, because there isn't really any negative ones. And I mean, this is the same way with a lot of games. Like Madden, every year it comes out, is completely overrated, and I like Madden, okay? Same thing with 2K, okay? I'm a big fan of NBA 2K. I actually enjoy playing sports games with my friends and stuff like that, right? I like playing the franchise modes and things like that, which is kind of an unpopular opinion because most people are playing the trading card games and shit, but I enjoy those elements. But then you look at the reviews and they're like, this game takes it to another level. Madden has finally stepped into the new age and progressed past its roots. this is the greatest looking Madden of all time, and it looks like Madden 13, right? It just, that's how I find myself unable to really trust a lot of critical reviews of games anymore, because I know that the industry pays for these reviews. There's no way that they don't. I mean, these critics are all on the same page on the game every year, right? Am I the only one who feels this way? I don't know. I feel like, of course, I'm just ranting into the microphone, but it's definitely confusing. Now, a big point that people are making is that The Last of Us has like almost 10,000 user scores in the whole lifespan ever since it came out in like 2013. And already within not even 24 hours in most places, The Last of Us Part 2 has over 5,000. And it's pretty overwhelmingly negative. Now, a lot of people just simply didn't like the story because Joel basically gets fucked, right? I mean, that was a pretty big moment because he's such a beloved character in the story, and I understand that that's the direction they wanted to go with the game. But I mean, to expect people to not be pissed over something like that is kind of asinine, right? I mean, people are gonna be very upset. So, I guess the overall message is, while I'm pretty split on whether or not I'm going to get the game, depending on how more reviews of people that I know played the game come out, people have a legitimate reason to be upset, and the game is being panned, even though by dislike bombing. A lot of people are definitely upset with the overall direction of the game, and I think that that's a completely valid concern. And in reality, a game that was going to probably be universally celebrated by the community has now turned into a polarizing moment of whether or not you're a fan of The Last of Us or you're seen as somebody who just is hating on the game for the sake of hating on the game. At the end of the day, I'm sure the reception of the game will really shake out within the next couple weeks. I mean, once the game has actually been finished by most people, and we can get some legitimate concerns from people who have played all the way through, maybe even a couple times, that'll kind of, I guess, sway maybe a little bit more whether or not the game is actually as panned as it is. But it's just kind of crazy to see a game like this fall so hard from grace. I mean, I feel like even if those leaks didn't come out, this game would probably be a lot better rated. It would probably be a lot more enjoyed and liked. But I can't say that the leaks killed this game. I mean, of course, it kind of led someone like me to be a little iffy on getting it first day, but a lot of people still stuck by the game and defended it. I don't know. At the end of the day, I'm just here letting everybody know what's going on. If you do enjoy, I want to hear your opinions, okay? Because if you've played the game, I want to hear your opinions. I legitimately want to know if this is a game that I should get or not. Let me know in the comments below if you've played the game, what you think about it, if you enjoy the storyline, things like that. Or let me know if you don't like it down below. I mean, the comments are open for your discussion. Please don't be toxic assholes, though. And with that being said, thank you guys for watching. If you did enjoy, make sure to leave a like, subscribe if you're brand new around here on the channel. Follow me over on Twitter and Twitch at @SubToOptimus. Make sure to check out Shop Opti down below. Thank you to my channel members. Your support helps my channel tremendously. And until my next video, guys, this is Optimus, waiting to see if he'll be playing The Last of Us Part 2, and signing out.